There rightly feels as though there are lofty expectations this season for Arsenal. It's time to win, and I'd love to sit here and give a guarantee to those expectations, but that isn't football, unfortunately. Football is a game, though, that, although it feels at times impossible, it has a way of pleasantly surprising you. And Arsenal's new number 3, Cristhian Mosquera, has probably gone above and beyond every reasonable expectation placed on him thus far. Because I can give you, on paper, a budding defender with every uncoachable physical quality, an exciting technical base, a cool, aggressive temperament, but I can only look you in the eye and state he is one of the strongest young defenders in European football when they've passed, almost, the full English football experience in their first few weeks with flying colours. That includes being thrown into Anfield's cauldron 5 minutes in. That includes facing a Port Vale team and a crowd full of hope and intensity. I was thrilled with the signing of Mosquera, but I didn't know he was this far on already. Mosquera's price tag is not only modest, but one we could look back on in 4-5 years or so as a truly definitive signing. It showcases too where Andrea Berta is probably at his best, moving ruthlessly on opportunities with massive upside potential, and Arteta stressed Berta's importance in the deal. Welcome back to the Harvey Gratian YouTube channel. I'm so glad you found us or are joining us once again. And today's video is a close-up analysis of Mosquera's Arsenal career thus far. I personally felt when we signed Mosquera that he was discounted as more of an outside centre-back, not necessarily someone who could take up the Saliba burden of manipulating a press, playing 100 passes a game, etc. But that ignores what he's best at. This is someone who, when he has played, has taken our level of central play in the build-up up a notch. And I want to show you how he's done that. It's all about purpose, disguise and confidence, and then just real quality. My Zubimendi video also felt like an anecdote for this one, with every single passage taken from the Nottingham Forest game essentially kick-started by Mosquera. It all starts in the setup. How often Mosquera is using his studs to change the angle. Look at how many adjustments Morgan Gibbs-White is having to make when he's pressing him. Partner that with Zubimendi playing around in the cover shadow. Pressing Arsenal, and these two in particular, is a really hard ask. But I want to zoom in here when Mosquera rolls the ball back a yard deeper, opening up enough of an angle to wrap one into Nwaneri. Look at how intention neutral he looks in this shot too. Hudson-Odoi is ready to jump onto Timber, not to cover the inside pass. Here's a similar passage against Leeds, this time demonstrating how comfortable Mosquera is playing these cutters and moving the ball at speed with his left foot. This time he actually sees the reverse ball before Declan Rice does, baiting the press on before changing the direction. Look at how quickly the decision to pass, the shift and the punch into Merino follow each other. By keeping his head up, by constantly changing the angle, Mosquera buys himself time to wait for the picture to unfold ahead of him, turning down the obvious pass and waiting for the inside lane to open up. Look at how the midfield has rotated and swirled here, with Merino getting himself free from his man marker Sangare. Now, Forest press was borderline atrocious on the day, but that's not the point here, because Anderson realises Merino is free, he tries to anticipate and switch markers, but Mosquera's head is up, and he plays this cute around the corner pass to Nwaneri, who becomes free at the last minute, and the result, that connection is made to Calafiori, who hits Madueke, who does his thing. I'm going to say something now that feels insane to say, but it's not as far-fetched as I think it may sound. I think when it comes to this type of progression, the cute breakers, the disguised reverse passes, the intent to progress, to keep the tempo ticking, all of which things William Saliba is brilliant at, Mosquera might actually be better? He certainly has the same movements to Saliba, allowing the ball across his body before dropping a shoulder, bobbing the other direction to play against a press's momentum. Here finding Rice, who carries and moves it to Eza. And this is where I start to see Mosquera as two completely different players and why he feels and why he is so unique. You've got this rangy, sprawling defender who plays on his tiptoes, who plays with so much detail in build-up and has the touch to hit these first-time passes. And when he strikes these kind of switches too, a range which I completely missed in my scouting, if he can ping a few more of these and develop a carrying out from the back, you're looking at a really complete package. If we look at Mosquera's first involvement at Anfield, driving and carrying in these wide zones, pulling wide, inviting Gakpo to make a decision and slipping it the other way to Zubimendi, but just over hitting the pass, there's a strutty confidence on show, and it also is telling that there may at times be over-ambitious moments. He may try too hard to play through the middle of the pitch, but maybe as well how, if we're being critical, he doesn't fully trust himself yet to strike the ball on the move, because I see some of his off-ball runs on the overlap when he shifted to right back. The speed is there, but time will tell to whether he can slow himself down and feel more comfortable giving and going like White does, or clipping crosses when he arrives at the byline. This feels like a nice point to bridge to the out of possession stuff, and I want to begin by talking again about an in possession point. This is another detail that completely passed me by in my scouting. It's one that Calafiori possesses as well. I'll give you a clue. It involves, again, first time passing, but this time it's about interceptions, clearances or headers. Maybe some of you have grabbed it by watching this. Because what can seem just a clearance can be directed or placed in a way that launches a transition instead of just being a simple clearing of your lines. Because that's what invites waves and waves of pressure. Now, Mosquera might not intend this one, a weak foot stabbed pass which perfectly sweeps over to Eza, as we connect then to Madueke and win a corner all in the space of 14 seconds. But this is a trend in Mosquera's game. Remember Martinelli's dash for his goal against Athletic Club? Well, the first point of contact for that counter-attack is Mosquera's header, then Rice, then Trossard's hook in behind. And that goes from back to front in 7 or 8 seconds. These interventions can turn the most pinball-y, chaotic moments into real advantages, and to say how well it has been covered about how Mosquera may well struggle in the air, the placement and purpose to his headers certainly does not suggest that. And there's one more example of this which takes us nicely into more of the fundamentals of his defensive game. A cross is whipped in, Forest have good numbers in the box, you don't want to be swiping this kind of low ball away with your leg, but look at the position Mosquera gets his head into, but also how much he has to crane his neck, not only to get there, but to divert the ball to Zubimendi, as opposed to into the path of the still interested Forest attackers. As Forest launch their own counter-press, Mosquera hits that pass into Rice, kick-starting yet another speedy attack which starts from the middle. This shows how defending the box is not just about out-leaping or overpowering the attacker and vice versa. It's about anticipating and staying reactive to movements as a defender. It's about being deliberate with clearances so pressure is not sustained. It's about having a nasty streak to unsettle and to fight back. It's about coming out to plug spaces quickly and blocking the ball well. Let's start with these two final points. I spoke about in the initial scouted on Mosquera of just how important his shot blocking technique is, and it's one of the biggest defensive upsides in his transfer. Gabriel blocks the ball without turning his head. He sets himself as big as possible, which allows him to use his trailing leg to tackle if the attacker tries to fake him. Mosquera is exactly the same, and here's him against Depay. Depay is in, but Mosquera doesn't dive in to block the shot because Depay doesn't actually shoot. He chops back where Mosquera's leg steals in. Here's him at Anfield after we give the ball away in build-up. You could get desperate and overcompensate, but no. And when Mosquera does go to ground, it's probably in a position where the attacker looks set to score, but one of his legs reaches in and steals the ball away. Yes, alright, I'm nerdy, but these details are real and they matter. Now for Mosquera's aggression and his 1v1 defending. At Anfield against someone like Ekitike, someone who is intelligent, moving through the spaces and at pace and linking play, Mosquera followed him everywhere. His ground duelling is immense, with an 89% success rate this season so far, not only the highest in the Arsenal squad, but of Premier League players with at least 200 minutes played. But why is it this good? If you're playing into your centre forward, as soon as the ball bounces, or if you have to move to reach it, if you feel like you've originally got Mosquera pinned, he'll reach around and he'll poke the ball away from you. Or he'll get there first to pinch the ball off your toes. All the time he's pushing behind you. He definitely has that nasty streak, even if it's bubbling away subtly. Whether it's a shoulder to move you out the way, or when he decides to get tight with you, he is not leaving you. And I think the best front-footed, aggressive defenders also know when it's time to be patient. Again, there's not a massive Arsenal sample yet, but when Mosquera is defending in the channels, sometimes he knows he doesn't even have to engage, but wait for a loose touch and then get his body in, often not even touching the ball or the attacker, but just ushering them out of play. He sweeps in the box well too, and he may not be as wide as Gabriel in these situations, if that makes sense, so maybe cutbacks are more prone to deflecting through his legs, but his preparation, anticipation, speed and decision making are top class, as is his 1v1 duelling. Here he's actually managing a 2v1. He checks to see if he's on his own, fakes a jump, basically forcing the attacker into making a decision. He waits for him to slip Williams wide and then goes full beam, blocks the ball and wins it back. Again, it's sort of two players in one here. Look at the narrowness of his stance, how quickly this allows him to shuffle his legs side to side, and when you are adding sort of his spring to react to that, it's why being a sort of 6'5" player in a 6'2" person's body is proving very beneficial for him. I've mentioned a couple of points of development or more continuation for Mosquera throughout the video, but there is still room to take genuine strides with in his aerial duelling. I said in the intro he's almost dealt with everything England has to offer, but the Chris Woods or the Matetas, those kinds of number 9s who mix real physical qualities with a lot of wily fox traits, dark arts and clever movements, these are the types that you want Mosquera to continue to develop against, as of course is the leap and the relentlessness of someone like a Haaland type specimen. I think though, so far when defending, Mosquera hasn't felt like an easy route out for oppositions to hit. He's defended these situations generally really well, and I'm not also naive enough to say that a Chris Wood, someone built for these kinds of long balls, is not allowed to bring the ball down and get his team up the pitch. This is what you want to see more of from Mosquera, setting himself for the jump in the contest. He's not getting stuck directly under the high ball, and he wins it powerfully against the tall, kind of veteran-like figure now in Williams. In the original Scouted, we spoke about how he backs himself so much on the ground. He's happy to just involve himself there sometimes, but there have been real signs of growth in the air. As part of the squad, I see Mosquera as real William Saliba depth, someone who, as we saw against Port Vale, can cover across the back line. This isn't a specialist, this is a special player. His game may feel a little bit simplified with angles when he pushes left, and when he becomes that sort of Ben White centre-back, right-back hybrid. His overlaps are powerful, but maybe more of a decoy at the moment. He's at his best, I think, in these zones when he's playing those timber-like cut passes from outside the block and deeper. But Cristhian Mosquera, as I hope this video has shown, is ridiculous. He's not here to take part, but to try and take over. I really hope you've enjoyed today's video. I'm going to keep a lot more content pumping out now. I'll catch you in the next one. Thank you so much. See you later.